Just ahead on CTV News.
The trial begins for a civil case where officers shoot an armed man multiple times back in 2019. I'm Katara Jones. I'll have more details on that case coming up on CTV News.
Plus, big endorsements for the candidates in the upcoming election. And the Commanders' record-breaking season comes to an end.
It's time for Jaden Daniels, rookie. He did absolutely great for a rookie. And I gotta give him respect, give him his props. He did good, he looked good, but just can't bring it home.
Those stories and more on CTV News, starting now.
Good evening. This is CTV News for January 27th. I'm Mariah Jalad.
And I'm Michaela Newton. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, some unfortunate news for local football fans this weekend.
The Cardiac Commanders' historic run flatlined in Philadelphia. Yesterday's 55-23 loss to the Eagles puts an end to a season Commanders fans won't soon forget, reaching the conference championship for the first time in 30 years.
Turnovers proved to be the Achilles heel for the Commanders yesterday, but the future looks bright for the burgundy and gold.
Maybe next year. They might be there next year, but you need more players, more receivers. People gonna be hungry to play. And they was hungry to play this year, but it didn't fall through for them. But like I always say, it's always next year.
Well, a civil trial is underway involving two of the officers involved in the deadly shooting of an armed suspect back in 2019.
CTV's Katara Jones is outside the county courthouse with more.
That's right. It's been more than 5 years since Leonard Shad was fatally shot by police back in 2019. Well, today, a jury was selected and the trial began for this civil case. Now, this case involves the plaintiffs, which is the estate of Leonard Shad, versus the defendants, the city of Hyattsville, two police officers, which are Zach Nusser and Scott Hall. Now, if you have forgotten about this deadly shooting, let me take you back. Police were called about an armed man near a Starbucks around Toledo and Bellcrest Roads in Hyattsville back on September 26th of 2019. When officers arrived, they found 49-year-old Leonard Shad with 2 knives. Reports show that police tried to get Shang to drop the weapons, but he did not. Reports also show that the officer tased him 3 times, used a non-lethal beanbag shotgun on him, then used a flashbang device. After that, Shan charged at one of the officers. That's when police shot him multiple times. He ultimately died. Now, although this incident involves 3 police departments, including Prince George's Police, Hyattsville Police, and Mount Rainier Police, this case only involves 2 officers from the Hyattsville Police Department. Now, the jury trial is expected to continue tomorrow. Katara Jones, CTV News.
All right, Katira, thanks so much for that report. Meanwhile, Senator Angela Alsobrooks endorses candidate Calvin Hawkins for Prince George's County Executive. The endorsement comes as a boost for Hawkins in a competitive race packed with well-known political names in Prince George's. Hawkins is up against 11 other candidates for the job. Senator Alsobrooks took to Twitter saying, quote, "I am proud to support Calvin Hawkins to be the next county executive of Prince George's County. Calvin is a lifelong Prince Georgian who understands the people of our county, their needs, and their values."
And another big endorsement coming in today, but this one for the County Council's District 5 seat. Former U.S. Senator Ben Cardin has put his support behind Democratic candidate Ryan Middleton. Middleton worked for Cardin as an aide from 2014 to 2018. Cardin says during that time, Middleton, quote, demonstrated an unwavering commitment to residents and their needs. The special primary election for the District 5 seat and the county executive will be March 4th. The special general election will be on June 3rd. And a high-ranking official in federal cybersecurity will become Maryland's next Commerce Secretary. Governor Wes Moore announced he will be nominating Harry Coker Jr. to the role, signaling the state will continue its efforts to expand in cyber and technological industries. Coker served as the U.S. National Cyber Director for the last 2 years and as the principal advisor to President Joe Biden on cybersecurity strategy and policy. Moore says Coker understands Maryland's economic growth agenda to invest in industries of the future.
Well, the city of Greenbelt is taking steps to support its immigrant community by making vital immigration resources easily accessible on its website. In a statement on the website, they said, quote, "In the city of Greenbelt, we remain committed to embracing and celebrating the diversity of all. As our nation undergoes change, feelings of pride, uncertainty, and even fear may arise. Yet we stand firm in the pledge that has defined Greenbelt since its inception and will not falter."
And in Annapolis, one Maryland lawmaker is trying to understand why school buses across the state have become hotbeds for violence and bad behavior. Here in Prince George's, just 2 years ago, an attempted murder on a county school bus left a student injured and the teen assailant, Baby K, in prison for the next 25 years. Delegate Nino Mangione is proposing the School Bus Safety Act, which would establish a work group to study how to make buses safer for students and drivers. The Baby K case was just one example of the bus safety issue.
That was further, I guess you could say, evidence that this bill is needed. It stemmed from a different story where an individual joined. She was in the medical field. I saw this on a local news station, and she ended up actually wanting to give back, and she became a school bus driver. And then due to the bad behavior and the lack of help from administrative workers in our education system, and not all of them, but some, she said she no longer wanted to do it. She got out of that, and I saw that story and said, okay, we need to evaluate this and see what can be done to make sure that students are safe on school buses, that the bus drivers are safe, and that we can make sure going forward that the educational environment, both in the bus and in the classroom, is as safe as possible.
And if the bill passes, the work group would report its findings and make recommendations to each county board of education.
Well, a fatal car crash in Beltsville Sunday morning leaves one woman dead. Investigation shows that 40-year-old Cindy Fuentes Rojas was traveling eastbound on Merkirk Road when she lost control and struck a tree. Officers arrived at the scene shortly before 10 a.m. and she was later pronounced dead. Now, why she lost control of the vehicle is still under investigation, but anyone with any information on this case is asked to call 301-731-4422.
Well, bird flu is infecting Maryland's chicken farms, but health officials say it's not too late to contain the spread. 4 Eastern Shore farms were hit with outbreaks, and the U.S. Department of Agriculture says in the last month, more than 600,000 Maryland birds have been affected by the flu. State agriculture officials say they're responding appropriately to reduce the risk of a larger outbreak. That includes the quarantining of affected farms and the killing of thousands of chickens. A bigger spread could cause issues not just for public health, but for the economy and supply chain. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Mariah Jalad.
And I'm Michaela Newton. Still to come, it's tax season.
That's right, and CTV News spoke to Maryland's comptroller on this year's tax processing. Stay right there.
Well, I'm looking good. Thank you. Just became a Real ID. What's the plan? Impromptu road trip? Actually, the plan is to fly to New York for today's product launch, and then visit the family in California and cap it off with a girls' weekend in New Orleans. You really can just do all that. Sure, I'm a Real ID, so I'm good to board any domestic flight. Speaking of which, gotta fly. Nice. Enjoy. I'll be here.
Be your Real ID self by May 7th, 2025. Find out how at tsa.gov/RealID.
Welcome back. The Prince George's County Planning Board has given the thumbs up to a mixed-use development for Upper Marlboro. A Miami-based developer plans to build 600 apartment and townhouse units on a 60 acres of wooded land near Joint Base Andrews. Now, the plan, which would also include retail space, faces opposition from nearby neighborhoods that fear the new development would be too dense and generate too much traffic. Opponents sued to stop the plan but lost their case. The case is currently under appeal.
And just days after the county's redevelopment authority sued the town of Bladensburg over its efforts to annex the old Prince George's Hospital site, Bladensburg is pursuing a letter of agreement with the RDA regarding development of the site. The town of Cheverly also wants to annex the site for a proposed $500 million development project. Bladensburg officials say they're looking for a solution that benefits the neighboring communities. The suit filed last week seeks a restraining order preventing the annexation from going forward.
And Montgomery County Police's drone pilot program often responds to the scene of a crime before the police gets there. But Maryland lawmakers hold the future of the program in their hands. 1 year into the program, community response has been mixed with concerns over its privacy implications. And Maryland lawmakers may decide to further regulate the use of drones moving forward. Now, lawmakers say the current state law does not provide clear guidelines on when police drone response is appropriate to use. And with other jurisdictions considering launching their own drone response programs, additional legislation seems to be on the horizon.
And it's time to pay Uncle Sam, Marylanders, as tax season kicks off. The Comptroller's Office is rolling out tax processing in phases, gearing up for full operations by February 3rd to ensure secure and smooth submissions. This year, the IRS Direct File tool should make taxes easier, allowing 870,000 eligible Marylanders to file federal and state returns for free.
Please try Direct File. Check out if you're eligible. We want to make filing your tax returns as easy as possible, and Direct File is simply a better way to file. So please visit online, marylandtaxes.gov/directfile, to find our eligibility calculator and to check out and see if you are eligible. But no matter what, please make sure to file by April 15th and make sure to try to file online so that we can process your tax returns quickly and efficiently.
And you can get help with your taxes through 11 branch offices, virtual appointments, and partners like VITA and AARP. The filing deadline is April 15th. Visit marylandtaxes.gov for resources and support. And Maryland Energy is running low, and to avoid a crisis, lawmakers are ready to unveil a bill that would increase the state's ability to generate energy locally. Maryland imports nearly 40% of its energy supply, but increasing supplies could mean rollbacks to climate protection plans. Any reliance on natural gas will be at odds with environmental leaders' priorities. At the same time, electric bills for consumers have spiked. The comprehensive energy bill is expected to incentivize expanding nuclear energy, but the development of new technology in that field could slow expansions to the next decade.
President Trump's executive order rolling back electric vehicle mandates and incentives could threaten Maryland's EV goals. Now, officials with the Moore administration told lawmakers in Annapolis they're committed to aggressive EV sales targets, but recognize that with the challenge with Trump back in office. His order halts a Biden policy requiring 50% of new car sales to be electric by 2030, blocks federal grants for EV chargers, and cancels tax credit for buyers. The Moore administration aims for all car and light truck sales in Maryland to be electric by 2025, but admitted Trump's order could halt that progress. And in 2024, Maryland school systems ranked 3rd in the nation, and reading helps our students stay ahead of the pack. Well, today, Prince George's County Public Schools hosted their Stuff a Trunk event where teachers had the chance to select up to 200 books free of charge to help build their classroom libraries. PGCPS collaborated with Scholastic Books to help inspire the next generation of knowledge seekers.
Maddie and I drove as fast as we could. We were so excited just to come and get books to fill our classroom library. And it's extremely hard right now to get students to read any book, so I try and have as many possible for them to take, and I love it when they ask if they can have it. So I like to have enough where if they ask me if they can have a book, please take it. So it's nice to have as many genres and represent as many cultures as possible so that they can identify with some kind of book in my classroom.
It's really important to me to be able to have other students learn as well, and be able to see other parts of the world too, and how other people see the world differently than them.
And this past weekend, retail chain Target announced that it would be scaling back its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. The retailer said that the changes would include ending a program to help Black employees find meaningful careers and improving the experience of Black shoppers and promoting Black-owned businesses. Target joins rival Walmart, Amazon, Lowe's, and Ford on the list of companies scaling back on DEI.
Meanwhile, Costco is defending its commitment to diversity. This comes after the National Center for Public Policy and Research, a conservative think tank, submitted a proposal arguing that Costco's DEI initiatives are a financial risk to the company and shareholders. Now, Costco's board unanimously urged shareholders to reject the motion, highlighting how diverse employees and suppliers drive creativity and innovation and enhance customer satisfaction. And still to come on CTV News, with a new administration and looming budget deficits, where does that leave Maryland's blueprint plan?
After the break, we're joined by District 7 board member Felton Moss to talk about Maryland's education future. Stay tuned.
The doctor said I only had a 29% chance to find you. But I knew you were out there. Every night, even when my heart was sad, I wished for you to sign up. I got so sick that I couldn't go to school, but I still made people laugh. But when we matched, it was the best day ever. Dear donor, your blood stem cells saved me from leukemia. Thank you forever and ever and ever. Sincerely, Owen.
Experience the true joy of saving a life at nmdp.org.
You may have heard that the American Legion helps honor our fallen heroes.
Or that the American Legion helped write the GI Bill, enabling veterans to get a college education.
And yeah, you've heard us tell a good story or two.
But did you know that the American Legion does so much more for our veterans? From advocacy on Capitol Hill to serving others in our communities, the American Legion continues its tradition of strengthening America through service. Learn more about supporting veterans in your community by visiting legion.org.
With the new presidential administration, there have been talks about a potential Department of Education shutdown, as well as other possible changes to local education systems.
Joining us now in the studio is Dr. Felton Moss, who represents District 7 for the Prince George's County Public Schools Board of Education. Dr. Moss, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be here.
So, Donald Trump says he wants to end the Department of Education, give that back to the states. If that happens, what does that mean for PGCPS and teachers and the blueprint plan?
Yeah, well, thank you for the question. I think you're right. The president did say he wanted to abolish the U.S. Department of Education. I like to remind folks we've not had a Department of Education for a long time. Jimmy Carter, God rest his soul, who recently passed away, brought us the U.S. Department of Education. What that actually means is there would be no federal oversight to ensure that the most marginalized kids who grew up on the margins of society would have someone at the federal government fighting for them. We wouldn't have an Office of Civil Rights that would investigate civil rights complaints or violations at local school districts. But when it comes to Prince George's County school districts, we're not going to have those concerns. But what the biggest concern for us in Prince George's County without a federal Department of Education, our students with disabilities stand to lose from that. When there's limited federal support for education, that means dollars and cents won't add up. And so we'd have to think about other ways to do that. Title I is on the line, right? We have the largest share of Title I students in Maryland and Prince George's County schools. And so we have significant concerns about President Trump's plan to close the U.S. Department of Education.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of changes coming to the blueprint for Maryland's future, especially with fiscal year 2026 budget. There are a lot of budget cuts, but how is PGCPS looking to kind of combat some of these changes coming?
Yeah, no, really great question. I was just on the phone with one of my colleagues before I joined you for an interview talking about Senate Bill 429, which essentially reduces foundation funding, it reduces community school grants. Those are all things that are important to us. Maryland, the Thornton Commission and the Kerwin Commission found some years ago that we were already underfunding our per pupil funding, or what we call foundation funding. in Maryland by $5,000. And so the governor's proposed plan, if it moves forward, we would see a cut in our foundation, and we'd have to make tough decisions in Prince George's County about that. But I want to remind folks that we were already not funding our system, and the blueprint essentially was our best hope at making sure our kids have access to a quality education and being able to provide community school funding, be able to provide money to make sure we pay our teachers a better wage. And so there's a lot on the line, and we're spending our time fighting any reduction in that. We believe that the best investment in Maryland and Prince George's County is an investment in public education, and that starts with funding the blueprint.
And more on the blueprint, you know, a big part of that was increasing collaborative time for teachers. But we're already seeing legislation going into effect that would just cut that time, saying that because we have a teacher shortage in the state, we're not able to advance on that. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think that both things can be true. And that is the reality. As someone who was a classroom teacher, I was also a middle school principal, I understand educator shortages. But I also understand educator burnout and having enough time. That collaborative time was really a way to improve teacher working conditions, but it was also a way to improve the quality of learning that our young folks would have. When teachers have more time to collaborate, they're able to be their best selves when they actually get in front of students. So there's a lot on the line with the blueprint. I'll be honest with you, as a board, we're clear that we support the blueprint. You're going to see us advocate for that. We don't expect to see any cuts to the blueprint. We've got to continue to move this thing forward. The Thornton Commission, which was named after Dr. Thornton, who was the Prince George's County School Board Chair for a significant time, set out to make sure our kids have access to beyond level funding. And we stand by that in Prince George's County.
Now, shifting gears a little bit, with a lot of schools in the region kind of banning cell phones from the classroom, where is the Board of Education currently with that? Are you guys on board? Do you support it? Where do you stand?
Yeah, I mean, we took an official position in 2019 prior to me being on the board. That position was that young folks could have cell phones inside of schools at certain times. That remains the official position of Prince George's County School District. We don't have plans in the next few days to revisit that. What I will tell you is that there are bills in the General Assembly directing school boards what to do. We oppose those bills as board members. We don't believe that the Maryland legislature should tell local boards what to do. We believe in local control. But we took a position in 2019. We have no plans to revisit that anytime soon. We have an administrative procedure that guides that. We say young folks can have cell phones inside of schools at certain times. They can be used for instructional purposes, but we've not shifted our position in Prince George's County on cell phones.
Well, Dr. Moss, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
All right, well, still to come on CTV News, Simon Buggs is here with our Monday Sports page.
That's right. He's covering a local track and field championship, plus that devastating Commanders loss. Don't move.
I am an athlete. I am an educator.
I'm an EMT, a neurologist, a veteran,
a business owner.
I'm a mom.
We are survivors.
Cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women and doesn't discriminate.
It can affect any woman at any age or stage.
Yet many women don't know it's our greatest health threat.
Encourage 3 women you love to learn more about their risk factors and how they can take charge of their health today.
Having low income can mean making tough choices. Choosing between paying for food or medication or a place to live is a reality for many people. Do you know someone who could use some extra help? Find out about the Supplemental Security Income Program, SSI. You could receive monthly SSI payments if your income and financial resources are low and you are 65 or older, or an adult or child with a disability or who is blind. SSI is money you can use to help pay for basic needs, like putting food on the table, keeping the lights on, paying the rent. It can mean new shoes for growing feet or help with medical needs. Call 1-800-772-1213 or visit ssa.gov/SSI to schedule an appointment or start to apply today. That's ssa.gov/SSI. Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Hey
Hey guys, you know what time it is? Let's get into it. Beginning with some NFL news, the Burgundy and Gold took the field over the weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game. And it wasn't the best showing for Washington as the team just couldn't get out of their own way. The Commanders turned the ball over 3 times, which led to 3 Eagles touchdowns. And in the end, my team's season came to an ugly close as they were routed by Philly, being beaten 55-23. CTV Sports caught up with some players earlier today, and they reflected on the team's season.
I don't like losing, and I think as a competitor, anybody in this profession, man, they don't like losing. So, you just go out there, you learn from it, and you move on and figure out ways to get better.
We brought something special here to Washington that, going on the road, we want this building organization, everybody to, light up. And, this is just the beginning. And moving forward, we laid it brick by brick when we stepped in here. And, the arrows pointed up. And, to all the fans, to the best fans in the football, we appreciate you guys. We go out there. We don't just go out there just say we're going to lose today. That's not the mindset. That's not mentality we go out there with. But we go out there with the win every time. And with you guys all the way, the city, organization, fan base, all over, man. Anywhere, anytime, any place.
That means this year's game in the Super Bowl will be the Chiefs versus the Eagles. It will be a rematch of the Super Bowl back in 2022. The big game will be played on February 9th. Now it's time for some high school swim news. It was an exciting day for swimming fans this past Saturday as the Largo, Bowie, and Gwynn Park High School swim teams met at Prince George's Community College for a swim meet. In this first race, Bowie and Gwynn Park took the pool against each other in the freestyle relay. This Bulldog swimmer got off to a good start, winning the first set and giving his group the lead going into the second one. And Bowie held on to their lead in the second set as his Bulldog swimmer used his breaststroke technique to come in first place again and keep his group in the lead for the team's third swimmer. And the group's last 2 swimmers finished the race out strong, keeping the lead and helped them come in first place. In the second race, 2 swimmers from Bowie's team and 1 from Gwynn Park competed in the 200-meter. And on this flip turn, Bowie was able to edge out in front to take the lead. And as the race went on, Bowie was able to further the distance between herself and Gwynn Park, as it seemed like no one could stop her from coming out on top in the race. And she did just that as the Bulldogs kept her lead for the rest of the race to take the first place crown, while Gwynn Park came in second. Moving on to later in the meet, Gwynn Park and Largo all competed in this 100-meter race. The Bulldog swimmer on the bottom right of your screen quickly took the lead on the first flip turn. And after that, it was just no stopping him as he cruised to victory, getting first place for Bowie in another race. I caught up with Bulldogs head coach Francisco Leonard, and he told me what he liked from his squad during the meet.
Part of it was I saw a lot of my swimmers drop time. A lot of times when we're going against smaller schools, especially with us being a bigger school, we'll tend to swim times that are a little bit slower. I had a lot of kids drop times in events that they hadn't been dropping in today. Also, the flip turns are always a thing that swimmers have a tendency to either do or not do. And a lot of my team has built in the ability to get that turn into their races. And so that's making their race a little bit more efficient. And not even just a flip turn, all the turns and all the strokes.
Man, that was a fun day. And sticking with high school sports news, the County Track and Field Championships took place today. Students from all around Prince George's gathered at the Sports and Learning Complex to try and take home a medal for their school. From the hurdles to the long jump, these athletes showed up and showed out in their events. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, guys, as I'll have some highlights from this exciting day. And wrapping up sports, the Terps men's basketball team got their 3rd straight win yesterday. Maryland took down Indiana in a close game, 79-78. The Terps are now 16-5 and will match up next against Wisconsin at the Xfinity Center on Wednesday.
All right, thank you, Simon. Now we're going to go take a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight it's going to be cloudy outside. Looks like we are going to warm up a bit this week. Tomorrow it's going to be mostly sunny with a high of 50 and low of 30. Wednesday will be mostly sunny and we'll reach a high of 56. And Thursday we get a high of 45 plus a 30% chance of rain Thursday night.
And for our community calendar tomorrow, the virtual branch of the library is hosting Lunch and Learn. Tomorrow's session will feature author Brianna Thomas, author of Black Broadway in D.C. Before chain coffee shops and luxury high-rises, Washington's Greater U Street was known as Black Broadway. This virtual session takes place from noon to 1 p.m., but for more information, contact 240-455-5451. And that's all the time we have here on CTV News. Thanks so much for joining us.
We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.
Good night, everyone.